Hey guys, welcome back to Heritage Hollow Homestead. I am out in the garden this evening and I'm just kind of taking a look around, seeing what's hanging on in the cold weather, what's thriving and what's just fairly surviving. And then I also want to talk to you about something I have going on with my carrots and potatoes. So I thought I'd just take you around, show you a few things that we still have going, even after the last few weeks of some really cool weather. Like last night was down to 23 degrees, and tonight I think it's supposed to be 22 degrees. So I just wanted to show you what's still hanging on in the garden. Okay, so first here we have our broccoli, and it is doing great. It has not been affected really at all by the cold weather. It's doing good there. It's really heading up nicely, and it's really, I could harvest this right now. I'm hoping to get another little warm spurt, so these will kind of come back to life and grow a little bit more before I harvest them. But if I need some broccoli, I could come out here, and I probably will. But these are all doing good. Like I said, last night was, I think, 23 degrees, and our broccoli is doing great. So that is one crop that is hanging on. My goodness, we have unhappy little creatures. All right, so then we have over here on the next beds I'll show you. I don't know why they're being so loud. We have spinach and kale, and as you can tell, the kale right here is doing great, and it will all winter, and the spinach over here is doing great as well. And then right down the center I had some cauliflower, and it is looking a little bit sad, but it's still hanging on. I think that it will still be okay. If we have another warm spell, it might come back and grow. It may be something that I end up needing to cover next time, but you can tell there that bed is also doing pretty good. Let's see what else we have. So here we have radishes, some cabbage, which I just intended upon eating as for like a leafy green and not really their heads. We have some peas right here, and then in the middle we have red romaine lettuce, and that seems to be doing really well. I'll take you in and show you that a little bit closer. We also have a lot of red cabbage down through here. I'll show you that up closer. It's a little wilted from being so cold out, but I think that it's going to hang on as well. It did last year, so I'm pretty sure that it will be okay. So, but what I really wanted to talk to you guys about, first let me show you this right here up close. Turn you around. Okay, this is the red romaine lettuce, and look how great that is doing. That is doing very well. And then we have lots of radishes. So this bed has been growing for quite a while. These we are eating from, and instead of pulling them all in and having to figure out a way to store these carrots, which I have horrible luck with storing carrots, fresh carrots, in the refrigerator, they just get, they're no longer crisp. And so my way of storing my carrots is by leaving them right out here in the garden, and then I just pull one as I need it. Like I will pull one right here, and I can take this in. Look at that. That is a gorgeous carrot, and it is being stored very nicely right here in my garden. So I'm using my garden for a few things, for a few of my root crops, like radishes and beets, and carrots and potatoes. I'm using my garden as like a little mini root cellar. I'm just using right where they're growing as my way of storing them all winter long. Now, I live in zone 7, and this seems to work really well because our ground does not ever come to a hard freeze. We do get freezing temps, then it'll warm back up. Fluctuates a lot, and so these will store nicely because in the ground. And I actually have plans to bring out straw and cover these up even more, so that when we do get like snow or anything else, that the tops that are sticking out do not freeze and burst. So anyway, so that is how I'm storing my carrots for that's in this one right here. And I just come out here every day and pull a few carrots that I need. Cool. Okay, so here's my next bit of carrots, and I have 2 different sizes of carrots in here. Those are almost ready to harvest on this side. These were planted about 3 weeks later. They're a little bit smaller. Will not be harvesting at all from this side of my bed. These carrots are going to specifically be are being grown to be seed saved from, and these are my favorite type of carrots, which are Danvers carrots. I love them. Love the way they taste. And what will happen is, because carrots are a biennial, that means they need 2 growing seasons with at least 12 weeks of cold temperature in between those 2 growing seasons for them to produce a flower head that will produce seeds. What I'm doing is I planted these in time to let them grow right before the cold weather set in. And then they're just going to sit here. I'm going to cover these really good with some straw, and I'm going to overwinter these guys. And then because it does get cold enough here, we do have some actual winter temps. That's going to be long enough for when I overwinter these right here in my garden for those 12 weeks of cold weather. When spring arrives, the tops are going to begin to grow again, and that's going to be their second season. When that happens, they're going to grow for a while, and I might still even be able to harvest some of these. But then the tops are going to grow a lot. They're really going to take off. They will start to flower, and in each one of those flowers, they will produce seeds. And so in case you've ever wondered, how in the world do you get seeds from a carrot? That is how. You get seeds from the flowers that will grow on top of your carrots if you overwinter them. And if you live in a climate that's too cold to overwinter your carrots right in your garden, you could plant a couple of buckets of carrots or pots of carrots in early fall or late summer. Let them grow, and then right before the first really freezing temps come, move them inside of a garage or somewhere, cover them with straw. But the temperatures wherever you move those pots to of carrots needs to still get to like 35 degrees or so consistently for about 12 weeks. So maybe just under a porch or under your house, or somewhere though where rats aren't going to eat your carrots. So and then when spring comes, you can just move those pots or buckets back out, and they will do the same thing. They will grow and produce seed heads, and that will be how you will save carrot seed. The ones on the other side are actually big enough I can start to harvest from those, so I'm going to just be harvesting those as well. And one last thing to note about carrots, all of the carrots in my garden bed here are the same type. Next year I'll plant the same type so that I don't have to worry about cross-pollination. But carrots in the second season, when they're going to produce those seeds, they can cross-pollinate. So if you plan on doing this, maybe you should plan on picking your one favorite carrot variety each year and just seed saving and growing those, so you're not worrying so much, so you're not having to worry about major cross pollination in the process. Okay, so I want to talk to you about one last thing, and that is how I'm storing my potatoes right out in my garden as well. And so this is my sad looking potato bed. I know it looks like there's nothing there. There were green beans in here too, but if I dig down in here, I'm sure I will not have to go far to find some potatoes. And so I'm using, once again, I'm just using there's a dead potato plant right here. I'm using my garden as a way, there's a little tiny one, to just store my potatoes out here, okay? Right there. You can see that those are, I don't know if you can see these or not. Okay, so I have all sorts of potatoes in here. Okay, and what I want to do is make sure, let's get those way back down in there, cover them back up really well. Okay, so I'm going to keep those covered up. I don't want any sunlight to reach those. And I'm going to be coming back this week and putting a heavy mulch of straw on top of this bed. Like, fill up to the top here, up above it, probably about, oh, here comes the crew. Probably about 12 inches of straw here, and that will really insulate these potatoes, keep them from freezing or bursting or anything. And I'm just going to come out here and harvest those from my potato beds as needed, but mainly I actually have plenty of potatoes inside. This is my way of securing my seed potatoes for next year, and that is because when I move my potatoes inside, they don't tend to last as long, even in our garage. The humidity levels and such just are never perfect, and I end up having potatoes go bad before I have a chance to really save them long enough to be seed potatoes for the next year. My plans are for this whole bed of these potatoes to be my seed potatoes for next year, that they'll just sit in the ground just the same as they would in a root cellar. They're going to hang out here, and as the weather gets, when the weather's right, and it's like probably in February, I'll come out here, I'll dig them up, and which is when you sprout your potatoes, basically. And I will get them then, and that way I will not have to worry about the fact of my potatoes going bad in the garage. I know they'll be good here until I'm ready to use them for next year's garden. I'm contemplating doing this with my sweet potatoes too, but I don't know how that would work. Thinking about it, if you've ever tried that same method to keep your sweet potatoes cool and stored well just by putting them in dirt outside in your garden, let me know, because I would like to be able to keep my sweet potatoes from going bad as well. They tend to store a lot better though in my garage. So anyway, so I have a whole bed here of potatoes that are going to be my seed potatoes for next year, and that's just my way of looking ahead and planning for next year, so I'm not having to find seed potatoes, which tend to be so hard to find, and they never hit the stores when I'm actually ready to plant them, it seems like, which can be very aggravating. Alright, let's look at my garlic, and I don't really have a lot else to show you. There's not a whole lot else going on. It's pretty chill, but okay. I don't know if you can see all the little green sprouts here, but this is my bed of garlic, and they are all doing great. And so garlic is just as simple as going out, buying some organic garlic cloves, and then pulling each clove apart, but do not peel all of the skin off of it, and plant each individual clove with the skin still on it, pointy side up, root side down, into your soil, and just right underneath the level of the soil there. Give them a few weeks and they will sprout like this. I'm also going to cover these with mulch, like a straw, and come springtime those will start to grow again and they will bulb up, and I will have garlic in about June. The important reason why we plant garlic in the fall is because garlic also has to basically be overwintered. It needs the cold period in order for it to grow back the next season and create a bulb. So if you would like a milder garlic flavor, you could plant your garlic in the spring and let it grow all summer, but you're not going to get individual cloves like in the bulb. You're just going to have a smaller bulb and it's going to be milder tasting. But if you plant your garlic in the fall, like that, let it hang out all winter, and then start growing again in the spring, you will have really nice garlic come May or June, July, depending on your grow zone. So that's basically all that I have going on right now. I do have onions planted over in another bed, but they're not really doing anything exciting. I mainly wanted to share with you how I am overwintering my potatoes and my carrots and my radishes and beets directly in my garden to save space. I don't have to try to preserve them in any way, and they are just hanging out right here, and my radishes are just hanging out right here, and they'll be ready anytime I want to come out here and harvest them. I just come out here and grab a carrot or some lettuce or whatever, and we're good to go. So I just wanted to share those few tips with you. Hope you guys are doing